about your belief in God, what you believe, how you believe, because everybody's God is not the same God. We are not the same people. So therefore, don't let anyone tell you, if you don't believe the way I believe, then you are not correct. We're going to find out a lot in the days to come that everybody's God is not the same. Be comfortable with the God you pray to. I was talking to a parent. I was talking to several parents this week, and it's important that I share this with you. These parents from different backgrounds, but especially their backgrounds were African American backgrounds, and they were parents of young people, 14, 15, 16 in high school, and probably wherever 14, 15, and 16 comes out. And I was talking to the parents, and some of them were very surprised about something, that when the shooting took place this week, many of you know news-wise what I'm talking about. If you don't, you can look it up. I'm not going to go into it because I'm on tape and I don't want to go into it. Not at this moment. This moment we need to be very still and very quiet and not say too much of anything. You hear me again. At this moment, very still, very quiet, keep your mouth shut and not say too much of anything about any particular thing. I am not about to talk about any particular act that has taken place this week. As a matter of fact, I will be so far from that. But what surprised me is that these young teens were crying about what happened. Come to find out, as I dug deep into the research, there is a very high percentage of young African American teens who listen to certain conservative talk shows on the internet, on YouTube, on TikTok, on various things, a high number. And when asked the question, parents didn't understand it or did not know. As a matter of fact, some of the parents that are in their 40s and 50s also listen to very highly conservative talk shows. And so they're hearing a lot of different things going on right now. So I was not thinking about what was being said or why would our teens be so upset, or even parents in their 40s, 30s, 40s, or why would they be so upset, until I began to realize that part of the problem is what we have not taught enough from our pulpits. I never point fingers at others. I always make sure that I deal with myself first. Never point fingers at other people or somebody else's problem of their leadership. You always point a finger at yourself and see what you can do better, and then let the chips fall wherever they're going to fall. But it means that some things have to be ramped up. Some things have to be spoken about, because there is, this week I felt an uneasiness in my spirit because I felt something is wrong. It's not as easy as what we see. Something else is wrong. and I cannot understand it. White, black, left, right, up, down, in, out. I'm not grasping this thing. The fighting, the arguing, what is it? You know, my background tells me what it is. It's a spirit. Now, that I know, but it's hard to convince other folk that it's a spirit. I've got to be a little bit more logical. I've got to be a little bit more in a scholarly, intellectual form in order to talk about these things. But it's nothing really it's something wrong. And we know what's wrong, but it's hard to believe what's wrong when everybody can't see it, because there are certain things invisible to certain people. And it may not be their fault that they can't see it, but it's something that Jesus once asked a man who was blind. And he asked the man, "What do you want?" And the man said, "That I may receive my sight." But the question was asked, do you want to see? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? If you do not want to see, you will not see. So this is where I come in with what I'm talking about today. I left off last week dealing with words. I left off last week talking about the Bible. It gets people really upset when I talk about the Bible. And you know, especially when I tell them, but you know what I tell them, that the Word of God is, if you want to find the Word of God, you can find it in the Bible if you look for it. My thing is, if you ain't looking for it, you're not going to find it. If you're just looking for poetry, you can find poetry. Go to Psalms, you can find poetry. If you're looking for history, you can look in any of the biblical books of history. You can look wherever you want to look. But if you're looking for truth, truth is not something that's just laying on the surface. Truth is something that you have to read and you have to think. You have to meditate on. You have to want it. You have to desire it. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall, Matthew 5, for they shall be filled. You don't get filled if you're not hungry. You don't get filled if you're not thirsty. And then there is another point to this. Whatever you hunger or thirst for is what you will be filled with. Whatever you hunger and thirst for is what you will be full of. If you hunger for good food, you'll be full of good food. If you thirst for good drink, you'll be full of good drink. If you hunger and thirst for bull, you will be full of and that's what a lot of folk are, full of, because that's what they hunger for. They love the sensational. They love the things that temporarily excite them because they have no life of their own. Jesus came to give us life, John 10, and life more abundantly. In other words, Jesus came to give us a life of our own, a life that we can enjoy, a life that we can understand, a life that we can wake up in the morning ready to get up and go find that life, to get involved with what we're looking for. That's what Jesus has given us. But unfortunately, in this country, we have been given a type of Jesus that is not the Jesus that we really need. This is a hard saying, but it's time to say it. Everybody's Jesus is not the same Jesus. And if you don't come to an understanding about, I'm hungry and thirsty for Jesus, and if you've got different kinds of Jesuses, then you can miss the real Jesus and go through life with a fake Jesus and think that's Jesus. And you can share this Jesus with the entire world because you believe it's the gospel of that Jesus that you serve. But if a Jesus comes along that is of a different race or color, or different hue, or different thought, or explaining something that does not look like your portrayal of what you think Jesus looks like, then you will pass by that Jesus and not even accept the sacrifice of that Jesus. You will go to hell believing in your Jesus, even though something is telling you, no, this is not the right Jesus. Any Jesus that does not love their neighbor is the wrong Jesus. Can we agree on that? Look, I grew up in church. And if there's anything my pastor taught me growing up, and my grandmama taught me growing up, and the folks and the mothers in those churches growing up, none of us in those churches were perfect. But there's one thing that people always taught us, that you love everybody. They would teach us, you're not better than anybody, and ain't nobody better than you. They would teach us you just as good as, and if you ain't good, then try to get twice or 4 times better than somebody else. If you got to work hard at what you do, go ahead. But ain't nobody better than you. Don't ever carry that thought in your head. We went to school, went to junior high, middle school, elementary school, always being told, I don't know why they would tell you that every single day. You can learn. Ain't nobody better than you. You not dumb. You not stupid. You smart. Why did we have to be told that every single day of our lives? Because the system around us told us we were inadequate. And you might as well get used to it. And I'm going to tell you the bottom line of it. And the religion and the Jesus that some of us showed up to listen to was telling us the same thing through the hands of certain people who used it to manipulate. If there's anybody who understands and believes in Jesus, it's me. I know Jesus. But if I know Jesus, I know who. Well, what makes you know Jesus more than they know Jesus? I'll say it again. If you don't love folk, now that don't mean you got to like them and be around them. I don't like everybody I love. There's some folk I just love in the name of Jesus. In other words, I love because my character says love. I have that. Somebody said, well, what about you? Yeah, I love. But see, my love is different. I don't either love or hate. I love in degrees. And sometimes some folk I love is down there at 1 or 0.03 or something like that. So Jesus said you got to love your neighbor as yourself. I just make sure I live around folk I can love. Anyway. No, I'm just teasing right there. But my point is, when you live in a world where every day you wake up, this world or the majority of the people in this world is telling you you don't belong. What do you need? What do you have to do? And then they turn around and tell you you don't belong, but you need Jesus. You need Jesus Christ in your life. And you're saying, over here, you got people that's saying, okay, affirmative action. We don't live based on affirmative action. We believe in a merit system that everybody can achieve based on their merit. Wonderful. Put us on a football field. Put a football in our hand and tell us to play a game against an opponent, and everybody plays the game and achieves based on merit. So you got one group of people that can't play football, another group of people that are good at football. What's going to happen? They're going to run over them. So maybe the other folk don't need to play football. Maybe they need to play basketball. Well, if they can't do that, maybe they need to do something else to find wherever they can fit in. But to say we're based on merit, which means let everybody work based on merit. Okay, I understand merit. But if there's some of you that will only let certain people in because there's something in your DNA that leans more toward these people than these people, then would you consider that a problem? Yeah, but that's not true. There's nobody's DNA leads. No, we're all the same. We're all God's children. We all have faith, and we all are the same. And see, that's where I got my problem. I was watching as they have a museum on the Bible up in Washington, D.C. And there's a museum about the Bible. And you can go through, and it talks about how wonderful the Bible has been in our country and what it has done. I think it's a Smithsonian project, but it was spent over $400-something million by the Green family, which are the owners of Hobby Lobby, which did put the money into this program. As a matter of fact, the Slave Bible is displayed there. The Jeffersonian Bible is displayed there, where Thomas Jefferson took all the miracles of Jesus out of the Bible because he believed that Jesus was more reasonable than logic. So all of that was there. But it's not as much about the Bible as it is about American Protestantism. In other words, they're trying to prove and say to the rest of the country that the Protestants or the Church of America is what has made this world or this country better than anything or anybody else. And so people of color says, okay, so you're talking about our church. But what they're saying is, no, we can't say not you, but not you. So what you have to do is go back and understand the history of all of this and realize that it is possible for you to have different Jesuses and different gods. You say, well, no, we all serve the same God. We're starting to understand something about this. And it's kind of unnerving to hear that, you know, there could be, well, put it to you this way. They say, well, the Jewish people, you know, back in the Old Testament, what they did, they served, they were monotheists. They believed in one God. Well, that's not true. The Jews were monolatrists. That means, monolatrice means they believed in many gods, but they worshiped one God. You can believe in several gods, but worship only one God, which is what trust is. Worship is where your money, your who you are, your being, is what you give to that God that you worship. Worship requires an exchange of value. Okay? There's Wells Fargo, there's Bank of America, there are many banks. Chase, But you may have several banks, but you have one bank where you put the majority of your money in, that you do the majority of your banking with. For whatever reason, their online banking may be better than the other ones. But it's usually just one bank that you do your main stuff with. That don't mean you don't believe in the other banks. That just means that you worship one where your exchange of value is. Okay? Now, when I come to church on Sunday, it's like this. I believe that there are other people who worship God in their way, but that's up to them. I know how I worship my God. But you can't make me worship the way you worship and tell me your way is the only way. I don't believe your way is the only way. And I'm starting to believe that your way ain't the way at all. How can you love God and don't take care of the sick in your country? How can you love God and don't give water when people can't find water in the world? How can you love God and still deal with poverty? How can you love your children but love your guns more? It's something that's bothering me. And when you preach this, well, we're based on merit. We don't want DEI. We don't want diversity, equity, and inclusion. First of all, black people didn't invent DEI. It was invented by white America. They created it so that they could talk to their own people. And what happened was somebody else came in and said, we don't want that. And told their own people, we don't want that for our people because it won't help us. It will push us down. And so they start turning on those things. No diversity, no equity, no inclusion. Okay, put all that stuff about education and affordable action and put all that stuff behind. We don't want to deal with, we don't want all that. Everybody gonna be based on merit. We want to bring it down to where somebody decides if that person is good enough. We've been there. You put your uncles and your cousins and your little children and your nieces and your nephews in charge of the Secretary of Defense. You put people who are not even doctors in charge of the CDC. You put people who are not even scientists. You might as well put me in there. I mean, I would have at least studied. And by the time it got close to vaccine time, I would at least known a little bit of something, and known to ask other folk, what y'all think we ought to do about that? And they said, Pastor, I think we need to release these vaccines because it's getting bad out there. Okay, release the vaccines. But because someone gets up there and they preaches, we need a merit system. We don't need diversity. And they speak in this evangelical, quiet tone. It doesn't sound black. It sounds logical because you see what the main idea out there that nobody is saying is there's one group of people that says we are more valuable than you. And you got to come to the understanding that that is there. But there are a group of people that are saying, I know what you said, but no, it isn't. There's more of us now than it is of you. But they say, but we will do it in such a way that we will rule the more of you with the few of us. Because we as a people are more valuable than you. A man by the name of Miles Monroe came out with a book called Purpose. Any of y'all remember that? Taught it brilliantly. Then somebody came out with a book called The Purpose-Driven Life and made multiple millions that Miles Monroe could never make, and stole 75% of what Miles Monroe was saying. And we ate it up, and we thought we were reading something different because it says The Purpose-Driven Life. Then he wrote a book called The Purpose-Driven Church and made multiple millions again. And we read it believing we're hearing a revelation. There are certain churches you cannot be in, and the reason is because the gospel they teach is a gospel that other people have more value than you, and that you, because you have value, must bring those other little folk along so you can help them become valuable. Not as valuable as you, but you can help them live the best life that they can because you're in charge, and God has made you in charge. So you got to help the little people and the little children along. In other words, you got shoes, I got shoes, all God's children got shoes. But you don't get your shoes. When you get to heaven, then you're going to put on your shoes and walk. Right now, your shoes is in the faith realm because you can't put them on, because you can't have shoes here until someone says you can have shoes. Where did all this theology come from? And I'm actually almost through, because there's no way in the world I can teach this to you. I'd have to get online behind a paywall and just talk to you and explain how these systems and these gears and these levers really work. Why you can't realize your abundance and your wealth and see what God has for you, and why you can't. Why? Because there are reasons why. Because there are some people not merely standing in the way of the government, but there are some people who are standing in the way of God. In the book of Daniel, Daniel had been praying for God to do a miracle, had been praying for a word from God, had been fasting, and the word didn't come. God didn't show up. It had been for 21 days. And God said, and Daniel said, God, where are you? I've been fasting. I done asked for you. And the angel came down and said to Daniel, Daniel, God heard your prayer from the moment you prayed it. But I had been fighting with demons for 21 days just to get the answer to you. I had to go through for 21 days all the mess of demonic activity and principalities in the spirit to get to you. And it took me 21 days to get this answer to you. Some of you need answers, and what's holding you up is your own religion, your own concept of what you think God is. Let me tell you something. God is not up there sitting in a chair called a throne. There's only one reason you believe God is sitting on the throne: because you read a King James Version. King James Version. You think in terms of a king. You think in terms of a King David, King Solomon, kings on a throne. If you didn't know anything about kings, God would be a president behind a resolute desk, like some of them believe he is. Throne is symbolic of authority. The throne is symbolic of power. If God is sitting on a throne, it means God is in authority and in power. Until you finally come to understand, where is the throne? The throne is within you. That is where the authority and the power is. They won't tell you. They need the throne up there, so you can't have the power down here. You got to change your thinking. Say, change my thinking. Is God calling me, telling me my time is up? The power of the entire universe is God. God is everywhere doing everything. Somebody says, well, that means, oh, so you believe God, so you're a pantheist. I am not a pantheist. Pantheist means God is everything. I'm a panentheist, which means God is in everything. That's a difference. God is everywhere. God is beyond. That's why we call him God. God is not God's name. We don't even know his name. They named him Yahweh. God never named himself Yahweh. They named him Yahweh. And they put consonants or vowels in it. That's where you get the word Jehovah. Take the vowels out of Jehovah, you get the word Yahweh. Because Yahweh is just consonants. You're adding. And when they said it, they only spoke it. Actually, they really didn't want to pronounce it. Because they said his name is not pronounceable. God told Moses. Moses said, what is your name? And God said, I am who I am. I be who I be. I do what I want to do, and I don't have to tell you. I'm so far, God said, I'm so far beyond a name. A name? If you could name me, you be me. If you knew my name, you couldn't pronounce it. The only one that knew my name is my woman, that's wisdom. And she was in the beginning with me. That is God. God is total who he is. God is in every prayer. He is in every breath that we take. God is in the breath we inhale when we're first born, and in the last breath when we leave this world. God fills us. God is in my DNA. God is in every move that I make. Every time I dance, God is in it. Every time you move your hands, God is in it. Every time you lay hands on your child, God is in it. God transfers through it and into it. God is everywhere. You say, well, what about Jesus? Jesus. Well, he's the only way you can't get to God. You have to have our Jesus to get to God. Oh, baby, no. You go to school somewhere else, baby. You don't know who you talking to. He's the way, the truth, and the life, brother. And I said, no, he's not the way, the truth. He's way, truth, life. The word "the" is not in the text. You see, there's only one way to God. But there's many ways to Jesus. You don't have to know his name to know him. How many of you have ever been in a situation and the only thing you could say, oh Lord, have mercy? You didn't have a name on your list. You just said, oh Lord, have mercy. And that's what got you out of the situation that you were in. To know his name means to know his character. When you know who he is. So I leave you with this. This is why you got to be careful about the religion. There was a first man who believed that slaves, you could have Christianity and have God and also have slaves. He preached that you could have slaves alongside of your Christianity. Slave owners gave money to him. Slave owners built his organization. Slave owners would even tithe to his organization with slaves. They would send a slave to do work over here or over there, or sell a slave to pay their dues to help this man continue his organization. As a matter of fact, this man became the chaplain of an organization that they changed from the United States of America to the Southern States of America. He was the man that prayed and laid hands on Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy of the United States of America, the Southern States. This man was a powerful man. This man was called upon to preach all throughout the South, all throughout the East Coast, all throughout the North. He preached everywhere, wrote countless books. And the organization that this man founded was the SBC, the Southern Baptist Convention. You know what the SBC is? You know what the Southern Baptist Convention is? First Baptist Church of Houston, Second Baptist Church of Houston, and all the other Second Baptists, and even some mainline black Baptist churches in this city right now. They fought constantly, and the man fought. They did not even repent of it until the 1970s. And black people were fighting to sit in the seat and to sing in their choirs. Because you see, when you value something higher than yourself, then you feel you have to go where in other words, well, you don't understand, Pastor. I just go there for the networking, for my business. I got a word for you now. The word for you is your God is too small. If you got to go find God somewhere to network to make your business run, then you don't know how to call on God. And they won't teach you how to call on God. They will teach you how to raise your eyes up to the throne. You don't need your eyes on the throne. You need your eyes on your own power, baby. And realize God is right here. God, don't beg God for anything. Ask God questions. What do I need to know to get that loan? What do I need to know to do that? What do I need to know to bring that money? What do I need to know? Then leave it. That's prayer, baby. And this man was a Southern Baptist church. He became the head of the Southwest Bible, where a lot of black preachers and majority of your white Southern Baptist preachers got their training. This message was passed down for decades. What makes you think it still ain't here? When they're trying to talk about DEI, when they're saying put your women back in those kitchens, even take the vote from, we think it's even better to take the vote from the women and let the man vote on behalf of the woman and the family. Who said those things? This is coming from conservative, right-wing conversations and left-wing conversations. Who is saying that black people don't have the education, are not smart enough? Who's saying this? How did all these black women get laid off? Don't you know who's next? What you gonna do? You can't sit at home on the couch. Jesus is not on the couch. You can't keep going through your iPad and your iPhones and your computer looking for a word. You got to find some solid teaching in a church where these people are teaching you a diet of spirituality, history, and your own history, and an understanding of how your country works. You got to find people. It's not enough now. Just hold on, he coming. One day the sky gonna break free and Jesus gonna step his foot out on glory, and one day he's gonna come back and receive and take us on. Wait a minute, when? He ain't come back last generation. Mine almost over. I ain't seen him yet. Shh. And yours hasn't seen him yet either. And actually you have, you just don't know it. Could it be that maybe the reason they ain't been able to see Jesus come back is because he might be in black people, Latino people, Asian people other than themselves. And in some white people. So there's some white people who also have the truth. I ain't talking color now. There are people who have truth. Light skin, dark brown, light brown, chocolate, white, vanilla, whatever they are. They're people with truth, ladies and gentlemen. Find your community. Find your church. Listen to that man that's standing in front of you. And ask yourself the question, is this feeding my soul? Or is it just feeding my emotions? Am I leaving here with a better sense of worth about myself? Or is it just giving me more ways to beg God to help me? Am I leaving here with an understanding concerning my family? You say, well, they got a youth ministry. They have that. Baby, be careful of your youth ministry. Ask that man over there, tell me about your youth ministry. Do y'all have a black month every year or something? Well, no, we don't do that. We just worship Jesus. We don't do those kind of things over there. Okay, well, goodbye. Maybe you need to become your child's youth pastor anyway. Dad, Mom, I learned that in ALC years ago when we would pull our kids out of youth church every first Sunday. Why did we do it? And sit them inside that church and let them scream. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take all the kids hollering and screaming. I would say, take the baby out, baby, please. But you know what? I had to. Let the baby cry. I don't care. Let the baby cry. We just praise and worship. Let the baby cry. It don't matter because they need to be in here. But they don't learn nothing. You ain't talking on their level. God is on their level, baby. Listen, my kids of ALC are grown. Now, I got kids all in this building right now. They grown. And I am grateful for what and you know what? They've done a good job. I am proud of them, the way they think, the way they open their eyes. I am so grateful for all my kids that grew up. You know what? And I know that even when I leave this planet, the word is going to still be on this earth. God bless your hearts. Love you so much. You know, over the years, I've had a slogan, a statement that I've lived by. And it's been the slogan of our ministry. And what it's called is building the people who shape the world. And I'll be honest with you, I was on fire about this slogan about 40-something years ago. And I was ready to go out there and get the world saved because we're building the people who are going to shape the world. And I had this vision of being able to go out and shaping this entire planet and reaching out in the nations, which we have done. But I think when you get a little older, let me say vintage, things change a little bit. And so the world I'm concerned about shaping is the world of everyday people, not the whole planet, but your world, my world. How we shape our relationships, how we shape our value systems, how we shape our morality, and in times like this, how we shape our courage. And when you begin to shape your world, you can begin to help other people shape their world, and then you can connect your shaped world
with the shaped world of other people and build even greater works and greater worlds. That's why I ask you to give, because your giving helps us to be able to give how we think, how we see God, how we view ourselves through the lens of our God, through God's Spirit, through His power, through His love, how we love other people, how we help other people. This is what I believe our life's mission work is. Building the people who are shaping their worlds, to build them up, encourage, to build them into knowing that their value supersedes what other people would try to tell them about their value. It is healing broken hearts. It is realizing that I walk in abundance. I walk in places that I don't have to worry about lack. It doesn't mean that I won't have any, my pockets won't be empty every now and then, but it means I won't walk in lack. It's how we think about this. If God holds me, God has given me everything I need. Ladies and gentlemen, help us to keep doing what we do. Take a moment. Go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Or if you're watching this on one of our emails, click the button at the end of the email. Just take a moment and do it. Or you can text to give. And that text to give is 713-742-2035. Do any one of those things. But what you do, make sure you do it with love, because that's what's going to explode this power all over, not only the world, but shape the world you're in. God bless you.